Oh, right. Hello, everyone. And it's just turned to 3:34, but it was 3:33. Perfect time to start. So my name is Noa Lakshmi, and I know a few of you and some new faces here today. And in the last moment, so not really last moment, but me and Linda were talking about a different topic for this presentation. My intention was to present about the nodal shift that is coming in November to Capricorn and Cancer. And a couple of weeks ago, I contacted Linda and I said, "Hey, I've got to do this Chiron moving into Aries," and it was perfect because she actually said she was looking for somebody to present on this topic. So here we are. And Chiron is about to move into Aries in about 2.5 weeks. So I have plenty to say. And I hope there will be enough time for both volunteers that I have today. If not, I'll just do one because I know we have only an hour. And there's really a lot to say about this shift, which is a significant shift, and it's a whole new cycle. Is Chiron not just moving into a new sign, but it's moving to the first sign of the zodiac. So there's a completion of the entire zodiac wheel, and Chiron hasn't been in Aries in 51 years. So it's very significant, and this new cycle of healing that we are entering individually and collectively, which I'll be speaking about. And there's a lot to say when it comes to Chiron moving into Aries, but I chose a specific topic because I feel that there's subtopics with Chiron moving into Aries. One really big that is Chiron moving into Aries symbolizes to me a deep healing of the masculine that we are going to experience for the next 8 years. But I'm not going to go there. I just want to say that there's different branches on this big tree of Chiron moving into Aries. And I chose to focus on the wounded ego and the healing of our own egoic nature as human beings, and what does that mean, the significance of that. So that's what I will focus on today, and then we'll get to the volunteers and see what we can discover there. So I am going to start sharing my screen, and Linda, just let me know if this is...
Yes, it's good.
Visible? Okay, great. And of course, this is the weird thing about this presentation thing is with Zoom is once I share my screen and it's on full screen, I can't see what's going on in the meeting. So if there's any questions that come up during the presentation or anything, then please let me know. So Chiron ingress into Aries, the wounded ego. Found this image as I was searching for some Chiron images, which are plenty, and something about this image really touched me in a deep way. And I feel it really expresses what humanity is feeling right now. And you might even be able to relate to it individually with this image of just one hand on the body, on the heart, and looking up at the sky with this, what is this all about? And I feel that Chiron really symbolizes this human journey of us trying to understand and trying to understand who we are, wanting to embody our spiritual nature within this human existence, and really finding our way through the chaos and through the confusion and through the wounds that we do have. And so this image was really touching for me, like I said. And also when it comes to the ego itself, and that's what I'm going to speak about quite a bit today, is especially in the spiritual community, that I feel that we've really abused the ego in a extreme way. Chiron moving through Pisces, which was initiated in 2011, so we're coming out of a 7-year cycle. It was really about our spiritual healing and finding our way back to our spiritual nature and repairing our relationship, I would say our connection to God. And when I say God, please do not take it in any religious way, whatever God is for you, universe, spirit, source, however you want to relate to it. But the bottom line is that Chiron moving through Pisces was very much a spiritual healing that we went through individually and as a collective in humanity, reconnecting to spirit and really seeing and embracing our own spiritual nature and understanding that we are spirit, having a human experience, not necessarily the opposite, and reconnecting to God, to this spiritual nature. A lot of us had a crisis in faith during this time, or people that already had crisis in faith in life, faith in the universe, went through a big healing of finding their own God, finding their own faith. What do I really believe in that is not, okay, there's something beyond just this physical world. That's a big theme of a spiritual awakening, and what Chiron and Pisces was all about, that spiritual awakening and repairing that connection. And so many people that had their faith really tainted by religion or by any dogma, this time was for them to repair that wound, that wounded faith in God and in spirit. So, on this journey of the spiritual awakening and reconnecting to spirit, like I said, in the spiritual community, there can be this overemphasis on our spiritual nature, and we need it to go there to some degree. But in the process, there was a neglect and straight up abuse of our own human nature, disregarding and to some degree even suppressing our own human nature and our own animalistic nature, our instinctive nature. In spirituality, we see, I hear a lot of talk about how horrible the ego is, and you need to transcend your ego, you need to transcend your body, and there's a time and a place and context to all that. However, the extreme that I've been experiencing after being in the spiritual community for many years, the extreme, and many people fall into the trap of, I'm just spirit, then everything else is bad. The body is bad, the instincts are bad, the desires are bad, the impulses are bad, everything that Aries represent. And then the ego is just this horrible monster that we need to lock in a cage or kill or suppress or transcend, and not fully understanding what the ego is, and that it's not a horrible monster. It's actually just a little child. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's that child that is coming into the world and just doesn't know any better. That's what the ego is. So is a child bad or need to be eliminated? No, it needs to be educated. It needs to be approached with love and compassion. Everything that we've learned through the cycle of Chiron and Pisces is really, okay, compassion, how to heal through compassion and unconditional love. And now with Chiron moving into Aries is, all right, how can I give that unconditional love and compassion and forgiveness to myself, my ego, and starting to repair the relationship that we have with our ego and our egoic nature, and to really accept and embrace the fact that we are all of it. We're not just spirit, we're not just the physical body, but we are both. And the integration of both is what I'm seeing as the next step in spirituality, the integration of spirit and animalistic nature, because there's something for us to learn from that animalistic nature, from that quote unquote undeveloped ego. Well, what happens when we do give love and attention and the right attitude to our ego? What happens then? What is the potential? What can we actually create? What can we actually achieve personally and collectively when we learn how to guide the ego in a loving way, in a mature way, and take action from a more integrated state of being and integrated consciousness. So I'm personally thrilled with this shift, Chiron moving into Aries, and I believe that we are going to experience profound healing when it comes to our human nature, when it comes to our nature as physical, in our physical body, when it comes to our egos. And I do also believe that with Chiron moving into Aries, that's going to bring about some identity crises for some, for many, actually. Just like a lot of people went through a spiritual crisis, an existential crisis with Chiron in Pisces. Like, I don't know what to believe in anymore. And that paved the path. That was the initiation to let me go on my own healing journey to find what God is to me. And then with Chiron moving into Aries, it's the same. Okay, there's going to be an identity crisis that many people are going to experience, bringing up the question of, well, who am I? A lot of ego structures are going to dissolve. And with that comes crisis. But again, that crisis is going to initiate, especially in the sign of Aries, there will be an initiation of self-exploration. Okay, then let me explore who I really am as a human being in a physical body. I have my desires, they're not bad. I've got my impulses, they're not bad. I have my animalistic nature, it's not bad. So if all of that is still part of me, what is possible for me? What is possible for me to achieve once I accept and embrace all those aspects? How much more confidence is that going to bring about? How much more willpower is that going to bring about? All the qualities that we can really embrace and cultivate just by knowing how to embrace our own human nature and everything that comes with it, rather than suppressing it or deeming it as less than. That's why I'm referring to it as the wounded ego, because the ego all this time is like, hello, I'm not this horrible thing that you want to avoid or destroy or transcend. I'm here to work with you if you want to work with me. So let's do it together. So I'm looking at this as embracing our spiritual nature, which we've been doing, and now it's time to embrace and heal our connection to our own self from a very primal place, like our own primal nature. We're looking at primal with Aries. And my hope with this cycle, with Chiron being in Aries, is for all of us to be able to connect to our primal aspect of ourselves. And the healing will come from embracing it and learning how to work with it constructively. Again, the Chiron, the wounded healer, is the one that actually helps other people and brings the medicine and heal others by using the wisdom that it has and the wisdom that he's here to share. So we're looking at primal wisdom that can only be accessible to us once we are able to embrace that primal nature. And with that comes everything. It's our sexuality for sure, and our sexual nature with Aries. So having all that being healed for the next 8 years, to me, is a very significant and profound next step in our spiritual evolution and in our journey, in our healing journey as a collective. And again, for each and every one's individually to really love, embrace, and integrate that primal nature into our own self. So a few charts here. Just let me grab my phone so I have the time. Okay. So I wanted to start with actually just the new moon that we had a couple of weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago. I find it to be really significant because with this new moon that we had, and this is right here, the new moon, we had it conjuncting Chiron, very close, 2 degrees apart. And what I see with this signature, and what I've been experiencing really in the last couple of weeks as we're building up to the full moon in a few days, there's this Chiron-like tone to this cycle. And especially at the end of Pisces. So there's been so much letting go and so much releasing, and the feeling of death. And with the new moon and the sun involved, there's this, in a sense, a death of identity and identities, and letting go of quite a lot. So starting the cycle with the new moon conjuncting Chiron has given this time a Chiron-like feeling, which is that deep healing that we are experiencing in life. And there's something significant with the fact that Chiron is finishing in Pisces, and this new moon that took place March 17th, exactly a month before Chiron is moving into a new sign, completing the zodiac cycle and the journey around the zodiac. Now, another interesting signature to this new moon was that both Venus and Mercury were conjuncting in the sign of Aries. So I don't really see that as a coincidence. The fact that those two very personal planets were in Aries already, and Mercury was getting ready to go retrograde. So there's this, with Mercury, is really the message. Okay, we're starting to tap into the message of Aries, your message of your own self, what is being initiated, and to really start paying attention to those primal feelings and primal desires and the passions and your own sense of self that is very much rooted and connected to your physical nature as a human being. So that's the new moon that happened a couple of weeks ago, preparing us. I see it as a preparation for this transition, this shift that Chiron is about to embark on. So this is the chart for April 17th when Chiron moves into Aries, which very, very interesting here. 111 Pacific time. This is where I am on the West Coast of America. 111. So so amazed when I saw that. I can feel it also energetically. I don't know if you might relate to this. Just the significance of this, I can already feel it. The transition of Chiron moving into Aries. There's a bit of excitement inside of me for this transition also. Now, I want to point out a few things with that specific day and that specific moment, because obviously Chiron moving into Aries is not just a singular thing that is happening. There's a conversation, there's the play that is happening at the same time with all of the other participants, and all the participants are saying something within this initiation into a new healing cycle. So I want to point out a few things. One of the things that I want to mention here is the fact, this is something that I just learned recently, that Chiron in Aries is actually the furthest away from the sun when Chiron is in Aries. And I see that as something quite significant, and not necessarily easy. It's the furthest away from the sun, meaning it doesn't really have the warmth of the sun, and maybe even our awareness, because to me the light represents the light of awareness, our ability to really consciously know something, understand something, feel something. And when Chiron is the furthest away from the sun, if you think about Pluto, right, it's the furthest away from the sun, there's some darkness associated there. It is the ruler of the underworld, Pluto, and dark, and just deep and dark. Not a bad thing necessarily, but with Chiron being in Aries, it's going to be in Aries until 2026, so 8 years. Being so far away from the sun, there will be some darkness associated with that, which it makes sense when it comes to just exploring our own primal nature and everything that it brings, and actually part of healing of the ego and the integration is the integration of dark and light and the darkness within us. And the darkness, more often than not, is associated with our ego, because the ego can be dark. But when we understand where the darkness is coming from, that's where the healing begins. So a big part of healing the wounded ego is dealing with all those dark, or what we classify as dark, and bringing healing to those places in order to bring the medicine onto those places. So I find that to be very interesting, that Chiron is so far away from the sun when it's in Aries. So we'll see how that's going to play out individually and collectively, but it can feel hard. It just can feel some toughness in that, on that journey. And to me, there's a very important, it's a very important time with Chiron being in Aries as well, is to really stay true to yourself, and to really have the courage to explore yourself, because that's what Chiron did. Chiron, in order to heal its own wound, went on a vast exploration of what can I use, what medicines can I find, what is available in order for me to heal. And that's what brought Chiron the amount of wisdom and the ability to heal himself and others, is by not being afraid or having the willingness to really explore. So we're looking at that exploration of self. Well, what is it within myself? All the dark places and all the corners of the ego that maybe have been neglected for who knows how long and how many lifetimes. So it's just something I wanted to say. Okay, so going back to Chiron, that's the day that Chiron moves into Aries. Chiron moves into Aries 2 days after Mercury goes direct. It's just another, as you remember from the last chart of the new moon, Mercury was in Aries, conjuncting Venus, about to go retrograde. So there's this, okay, reevaluating, slowing down. Let me check in with myself. What do I really want? What do I really desire? Who am I on a primal level? What am I passionate about? What is the initiation? What do I want to initiate in my life? And moving through this Mercury retrograde cycle right now in Aries, evaluating and reevaluating all those questions, which is very important, because we don't want to just initiate things. We want to initiate things that are rooted in a very strong sense of self. Like, I know that this is my direction, so I know what is the right course of action. So 2 days after Mercury goes direct, Chiron moves into Aries. Mercury goes direct in the sign of Aries. And I would consider this a conjunction. It's 4 degrees. Chiron 0 degrees. Mercury is stationed direct at 4 degrees Aries. I would call this a conjunction. And to me, that is, what is the message? So after the period of Mercury in retrograde in Aries, then stops to go direct, and then Chiron meets Mercury in the sign of Aries, and Chiron is just, brand new now, entering into Aries. There's this new cycle, new exploration. How to heal thyself. How can I heal thyself? And initiating something new on this healing journey. What's the message? So April 17th, stay tuned. Your own personal messages that are going to come online for yourself as you are exploring this whole time of, again, those deep desires and the passions, and why do I really want, and who am I? What is the action that I want to take in my life right now? Which direction? And I'm being guided to, and being guided from an instinctual place. Not what I think or what I think I should or other people telling me, but who? I'm tuning into myself. Oh, I feel deep, deep, deep in my root chakra. This is where I need to go. This is what I need to do. That's Aries. So Chiron moving into Aries, meeting Mercury. What is the message? What is this? What's the action that you need to take in order to heal? And what needs to be initiated? Other questions here, you might want to ask yourself during that time is, what parts of your human self that you haven't fully accepted, embraced, and expressed? Also, meeting Mercury, there's an element of what elements in your human nature, in who you are, also just who you are, that haven't been expressed, that it's the time for you to initiate that kind of expression. Let the other, or let yourself see those true colors, and who you are, who you truly, truly are. There's also, with this message of Mercury coming back online, going direct, meeting Chiron, what do you really desire and perhaps feel ashamed of, insecure, and maybe even feel that you don't have it in you? And this will be a great opportunity and a time to heal aspects of ourselves, or the parts of ourselves that have lacked confidence. Aries brings to the table courage, it brings confidence, it brings a sense of assertion. I know what I want, and I'm not afraid to go for it. But again, with Chiron moving into Aries is healing, and that's healing of the masculine that I said, that's a whole nother rabbit hole. But that's one aspect of healing the masculine, of it's great to know what you want and go for it, but how to do it in a mature, constructive way that it doesn't destroy everything around, because Aries can have that, and the masculine can have that linear, just one line, I'm just going to go for it and F it with everybody else. Okay. So that's the kind of healing we can start seeing more with just our masculine approach and our egoic approach to life as well. That's the healing that I'm talking about. We don't need to destroy the ego. We just need to work with it in a good way. So another signature, this day is so packed. When I looked at the chart, like, holy tamale, the sun conjuncts Uranus in Aries. I mean, come on. It's like, whoa. And the sun is just, that's our purpose. It's okay, what I'm here to do. This is my light. What? So there's definitely an element of newness. You know, there's an initiation of something new. Has to be new. Absolutely has to be new. An upgraded version of yourself. So integrating and paying attention to all those messages that are going to come online, and initiating this new change in a, maybe in ways that you haven't done before, you've never tried. There's a reinvention, and also with this signature, and the fact that the star Aries here, I know, can be quite volatile. You know, some aggression to some degree, and I'm not into like predicting anything, but just on the collective level, there's intensity. And with all the Capricorn happening on this side here, Mars is right in between Saturn and Pluto, and there's Black Moon Lilith in the picture, all in Capricorn. And we're looking at some intense aspects when it comes to society, and people really feel with the sun and Uranus here, I need to break free. I just need to break free. There's a healthy way to go about it, and there's the less healthy way to go about it. So in your own individual life, if I just keep it on the personal level, in your own personal life, you know, this is a signature for a massive liberation, with the sun conjuncting Uranus in Aries, liberating yourself by liberating your own human nature. Just let it run, you know, just let your animal self be what it wants to be. And again, in an integrated way. So you've gone through the spiritual journey and understanding yourself as spirit. Now bring your own animal to meet that spirit and blend it together. And what kind of a reinvented experience of self are you going to have from that? And to complement this, you know, all this very strong energy. Mars is in Capricorn as Chiron moves into Aries, which is ruled by Mars. I just want to show like the feminine in the picture here, with all this very strong, fiery, initiative, freedom-like energy. We have Venus in Taurus, which it's home sign, and on that day, there's an exact trine to Pluto. Venus and Pluto in exact Earth trine. So that is very good for us. It's going to be a very grounding and stabilizing energy. And definitely reminding all of us in this process, and as we're moving into Chiron in Aries, your body, and to really be in your body. And on a deeper level, Venus trining Pluto in this way in Capricorn. So as all those desires and passions and the spark to initiate a new journey for yourself is asking, what do you truly value? Venus and Taurus, what do you truly value that is just really you deem as worthy for you? What do you truly value that is in harmony with your soul's path? So Pluto and Capricorn, there we're looking at the long term, not so much just the instant gratification. And with all this Aries around, there's like this instant gratification, and that's the part of the healing of our own ego. It's okay to have the need or desire for instant gratification, and sometimes maybe there is room and place for that. But with this signature, it's important to know your own worth. And Venus in Taurus, there is this, how do I value myself? How much do I value myself, my time, my energy? What is worthy for me to invest my time and my life into, that is serving me on my my higher road and my soul's journey long term? What can I do right now that is going to benefit me in the long run? What's worth doing and what's not worth doing, and what do I want to attract into my life that is serving me in that way, in the long run way. So I just briefly want to touch on the fact, and this is not a coincidence, I always like to say God doesn't work in a random way, that Chiron is going to dip back into Pisces. And anytime that happens, when a planet goes retrograde and shifts sign, to me, I see it as, oh, wait a second, we forgot something. Let me go back. And Chiron is going to dip back into Pisces in September, so September 25th. And it's going to stay in Pisces since Chiron does take its time. Healing takes a while, as we know. It's going to take its time there and will stay in Pisces until February of 2019. So we're actually going to finish this year, 2018, with Chiron still in Pisces. But I wanted to show here just the time when Chiron does move back into Pisces right here. To me, I see it as, okay, we forgot something. After we're going to have about 5 months of exploration of Chiron in Aries, reconnecting to that primal nature and starting to heal that ego aspect of ourselves and our relationship with our ego. Going back to Pisces, there's, okay, let me see if I left behind any unconscious, unexamined territory that still needs some healing. And with Chiron going back to Pisces, and we've got Pluto in Scorpio, and Venus is going to be in Scorpio at that time as well, we're definitely dealing with underneath the surface, unconscious territory, perhaps what is unpleasant, and again, some shadows, just so we can become more of an integrated human being. Now, since Chiron dips back into Pisces, I'm looking at Jupiter as the old ruler of Pisces. Jupiter is in Scorpio, and then Neptune is still in Pisces. So there is that very deep exploration, especially with Jupiter in Scorpio. I like to see it sometimes like all the creepy crawlers in the closet, in your own closet of consciousness that are still lingering. Okay, and Chiron going back into that territory is there's an opportunity and the potential to heal even more so, and to embrace. There's that embrace and cultivating more unconditional love and compassion. That's one of the primary messages here with Chiron going back into Pisces and then in Aries, is we must heal by bringing more compassion and more unconditional love. And I see Chiron going back into Pisces is, oh, okay, there's more unconditional love and more compassion that can be cultivated here before I go back into Aries, because it's just, there's more to accomplish in that area. Now, as you can see, Sun is in Libra over here, and there's out of sign, not exact opposition, but there's a slight opposition to Chiron as it moves back into Pisces, and reminding us, okay, to find the balance again. Find the balance. You can't just operate and I'm just spirit, or just operate, I'm just ego. The reason why Chiron is going back into Pisces is helping us, okay, let's find balance. Let's find balance, bring spirit into physical form and spirit working together. So this is an opportunity to find more balance, like for yourself individually, how to find more balance there. And interesting here, and I'm going to show you the next chart as well. Just remember this, Mars is in Aquarius, conjuncting the south node of the moon in Aquarius on that day. And I'm looking at Mars just because Chiron is doing its little dance from Aries to Pisces. And Mars in Aquarius during this time, and with this conjuncting the south node, is what form of operation that you've had in your life that you just got to disassociate from. And there is, again, that opportunity to break free from the past, to break free from any old programming. And that's Chiron being in Pisces again. It's the unconscious programming, south node in Aquarius. It's what is it that is you still perhaps prescribing to other people's desires of you, and things that are influenced by society, or what feels like trendy, or feels like, oh, this is just what everybody is doing and everybody is saying, and that's why I've been operating from. And it's just, that's the finalization of, okay, are we going to let go of that? Are we going to break free? Are you going to take action in a new way, in an upgraded way? I also see this as, with Mars being in Aquarius, there's this evolved human. The Aquarian energy is the energy of the future. And it's interesting, the South Node being in Aquarius, it is letting go of the past in order to move into a more elevated future. Aquarius, to me, and Uranus definitely rule ascension. But it's not ascension from a place of let's leave the body behind and my human nature behind and just ascend into golden dust, but ascension while I'm in the body, while I'm still connected to my primal nature, which again, we've got Scorpio in the picture here, definitely very primal stuff going on. So next one is when Chiron returns to Aries, which is on February 18th of 2019. And over here, we see that the sun, if you remember, Mars was in Aquarius, and the day that Chiron goes back into Aries, 0 degree right here, the sun is finishing in Aquarius. Which is also a reminder for us of the collective and just humanity, a healed ego, an integrated human being. When we really heal our ego without denying the ego, but embracing it and healing it, integrated human beings naturally want to contribute. They naturally see. That's the healed ego that, instead of living in a place of separation, can see the bigger picture. That's the Aquarius. We are all one big web. So how does that affect, or how does that impact my choices? what I feel driven to do, what I value according to that perspective. Okay, I'm not just a single island here. There is humanity, and how do I play my part in that big fabric of humanity? And that's a healthy ego, that it's not, oh, look at me, I'm special. But no, I'm special, you're special, everyone is special. And that's a healthy ego, seeing that you have very unique talents and gifts, and who you are alone is unique. Just like we see a birth chart, nobody's the same. And there's gifts there that only you have, and qualities that only you have. And that is a very integrated way of presenting yourself to the world and living in the world. That's a healthy ego. That's a healthy ego. I am special, but I'm not more special than anybody else. So that's the kind of healing that we're going to go through. And more and more seeing the bigger picture, and by you healing any places in you that are still afraid to see yourself as special, or you're not confident enough, or you don't see yourself as this individual that is a part of humanity, then all those things now are going to come up to the surface to be healed and integrated, because each and every one of us has something to contribute to humanity and the bigger picture and the bigger network, and realizing how impactful our own individuality is, that it's not apart from the bigger picture, but it is a piece in the collective and in the bigger picture, and how you choose to play that. And I didn't mention this, but it's really important to bring it in right now, that the day, or now Mars is in Capricorn, and when Chiron moves into Aries, Mars is going to be in Capricorn. And so why am I mentioning this right now? Because the realization of how impactful is me as a self, as an individual, and everything that I choose to do, then how do I base my choices on more maturity and integrity? There's the responsibility there that Capricorn teaches us, and self-responsibility with Mars being in Capricorn, really having accountability for your own actions, okay? And that's the mature ego. Again, not a coincidence that Chiron moves into Aries when Mars, the ruler of Aries, is in Capricorn. It's really showing us that this time of healing the ego is about really maturing the ego also, and learning and embracing that sense of responsibility. So you don't need to be afraid to really have the confidence and claim who you are and who you are here to be. And to have all the maybe beliefs or self-talk that is saying, like, who am I to be this and that? I know a lot of people in the spiritual community have that. So no, you are special and you have something to give. And love this image. It's really connected to, as I was talking in the beginning, guiding our ego in a loving way. I mean, how beautiful is this picture? We're seeing Chiron teaching this young boy how to shoot an arrow. So my interpretation of that is to take that image as we embark on the journey of healing the wounded ego and starting to guide the ego in a very loving, attentive way, rather than, oh, you're this bad thing that I need to get rid of. Okay, so we're seeing this Chiron really approaching the Aries nature in all of us, that can be a little immature, impatient, reactive, impulsive, things like feeling anger, feeling frustration, feeling irritated, and all those human emotions and all those human experiences that we can go through, now not bad. They just need some more compassion, more love, and understanding where it's coming from. And that's where the healing really comes from. So that's I believe that's all I have for the Chiron in Aries. I wonder if there's any questions up until now before I move into, I believe we have time for one chart. So I'm just wondering if there are any questions right now. Okay, I'll take that as a no. I'm still going, right? Linda, just tell me that I'm
Yes.
talking to myself. Okay.
15 minutes left.
Oh, we have 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I'm extending it for you.
Oh, okay, great.
Okay.
Great. Excellent. So in that case, we can actually do both charts. And I've got Carly here. And what I asked for the volunteers, I asked either Chiron in Aries or Chiron in the first house. So I'm curious, Carly, if you have any specific questions about your Chiron or your own healing journey, as it relates to what I was talking about right now, or just in general. So that was a question for Carly. If yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
I've mostly identified Chiron to do with Taurus and my ascendant. So I've been opening up a lot during this meeting, really figuring out how it plays into that Aries side of thing. It's nothing that I've really delved into too much. So I'm quite open just to receive whatever it is, how you would see that conjuncting the ascendant there. The integration of Taurus and Aries.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The body. It's the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. My interpretation of this, and especially the fact that it conjuncts your ascendant first, the ascendant, the first house, and anything that is so close to the ascendant, as showing the in your soul's intention. I see it as the spark of the soul, the ascendant. And that's a big part of your soul's intention in this lifetime. And especially there's a double intention here almost. You've got a yod pointing at your Chiron. So this is a significant aspect in your own evolution and in your own incarnation here. And in the first house, and in Taurus as well, there's definitely a lot of an invitation to pay more attention and to bring healing into the physical body. And how do you relate to your physical body? How do you relate to your own self in a physical vehicle? I also see that as there's an element of self-worth and value. How much do you actually value yourself? And being in the first house, the way it can show up in your life and in your own journey is affecting your confidence, affecting your ability to take action and to initiate, because there's a fundamental lack of confidence that comes from a place of, well, I don't really know how much value do I bring to the table. Again, that's a wounding of the ego that is saying, I don't really see much of my value, and what do I actually have to offer, and how much do I value the gifts that I innately have within me. And so that journey, especially with that yod, which is an aspect of mastery. Having Neptune and Pluto, that's your yod. There's the spiritual journey and the exploration of just your own nature as a soul, helping you to find your way to developing more of that self-worth, developing more of that value towards yourself, to really seeing how to see your innate worth and value of just you, without having all the other things. I accomplished this, I have this certificate, I have this, but on a very fundamental, just who you are, to know your worth and your value. And that alone can help develop more of that confidence and the ability to initiate, and the ability to initiate and to take action on the things that you truly value, because you believe, or you heal a false belief that is saying, I'm actually not worthy of what I want. I'm not worthy of what I want. I'm not worthy of what I desire. Or maybe my desires just don't have any value whatsoever. It's just something, whatever. And that is the key. That is the key to accomplish more of what you want in your life, and going after what it is that you truly want and that you truly deem as valuable. Does that help?
It does, yeah. It speaks a lot to my earlier life as well. I've overcome a lot of those issues and I'm sort of working through them, but there's still, as you said, like the little bugs in the back there. So yeah, just breaking them down piece by piece, but absolutely.
Yeah. And there's definitely, I don't know what kind of work do you do, but with Chiron and Taurus in the first house, definitely with the yod pointing at Chiron for you, a healer. And do you do any kind of healing with the body? Are you a massage therapist or any?
I work, like I do astrology readings and counselling, but the body part of it, not so much. But that's something I'm really open to moving forward, bringing the healing into the body myself first and foremost, and then
Yeah. I would encourage that path for you, for sure. Yes, you've got a lot of wisdom and ability to work on the spiritual realm and the mental realm and psychic realm, for sure. And again, that's the integration for you, to heal through the body, your own journey, and then help others. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you, Carly. And moving into the next chart, we've got Tori, and Tori has a double Aries signature. First house, and Chiron is in Aries, conjuncting the north node of the moon and Mercury, and pretty close to the sun, I would say. See all of this. So Tori, I wonder if you have any questions regarding your own Chiron in Aries in the first house. If anything that I've described during this presentation, if you can relate to, or if you would like to say anything or ask any questions about your own healing journey and what you've been experiencing in your life with this signature.
Hi.
Hi, Tori.
Can you hear me? Because I've
Yes.
got my volume down. Look, I've got these big stelliums in my chart, so it's sometimes hard to pick out parts of my chart because it all feels so integrated. Everything in Aries. I have so much in Aries. I also have my Venus Saturn conjunction in Aries. So, I'm embarking on 8 years of solid work with Chiron. That's what it feels like.
Mhm.
I've had Uranus transiting my chart for a long time, and now I'm going into this full-on deep Chironic work. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and you're gonna have your Chiron return very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, anything? I'm curious if any of the themes that I was talking about, if you can
Yeah.
relate to that or something that from your own personal experience.
Yeah, ego, right. I mean, sure, like Aries, again, I have so much in Aries that, yeah, I mean, it depends how you define ego as well. I was curious to ask you how you define ego.
Mm-hmm.
But, self-expression, obviously I have a Chiron Mercury North Node conjunction. So I do believe I've been working with these aspects all my life. And when I was younger, I had a lot of difficulties expressing myself, like quite major, actually, a lot of communication and expression difficulties, which I kind of feel like I've been working through it for a long time. But yeah, I mean, ego and Aries, sure. Yeah, sure. Mm.
Well, I appreciate you, Tori, asking how do I define ego. That's actually a great question.
Mm.
I feel that there's many different interpretations of what ego is. So thank you for presenting that. And my definition of ego, okay, and it's not so black and white also, but the aspect, what we call ego is actually our sense of I'm me. Like there's me here, and there's this computer, and there's the other things and other people. It's what actually gives us the sense of individuality, the sense of me, self. And that's why Aries is so, I know who I am, I know what I want. So that's I would say the basic of what an ego is. It really is that part of us that gives us the ability to identify ourselves as an individual part in the whole picture. Now, when we go to the extreme of the ego, then it's, the exact opposite of Libra. Nobody else exists. It's just me. It's the me show. It's what I want, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And do that, and that's the unhealthy ego, and that's the very unhealthy masculine. And the healthier expression of ego is strong sense of self with the ability to have empathy to other people and ability to see the bigger picture. So that's the integrated ego. Yeah. Ego is also, that's the extreme sense of separation. And that's when we fall into a place of control. I need to control everything and everyone because there's a fundamental perception of separation. I'm not part of life. And that's the wounding, or the spiritual wounding as well. And the Chiron was moving in through Pisces. It's actually, I'm part of life. And spirit is moving through me and through everything else, and I don't need to control everything. Now we hear the word surrender a lot. The ego is unable to surrender because the ego just wants to control. The ego just wants to feel safe. Okay, so it's that part of us that does live in separation. It's the fundamental separation of life, and I need to control everything because I don't believe in anything but myself. Right. Fend for yourself. It's just me here, and I need to do it all alone. So that would be a definition of ego.
Sure.
Yeah. And but like I said, in the spiritual journey, the spiritual community, there's that unhealthy veering more into the no sense of self whatsoever. And not recognizing that who you are as an ego. When you work with your ego is that part that does give you the ability to take action, the ability to see something, know that you want it because you know yourself, and then taking the action steps that you need to get there. We need the ego for that. If we didn't have the ego, we'll just, walk around kind of aimlessly. So I see a lot Chiron in the first house and Chiron in Aries, but in the first house specifically, there's a deflation of some kind when it comes to taking action and really feeling confident. And that lack of confidence comes from not really seeing yourself as an individual and having that strong sense of self that is important when it comes to taking action in life and initiating things. Sometimes we do need to initiate things. So the balance here, and I'm sure that you deal with that in your life, especially with the Aries Libra axis here with the nodes as well, is just oscillating and how to find balance between, okay, I've got myself and other people. And who am I in a relationship? Like, very easy to kind of get lost in a relationship and wanting to serve other people in the expense of yourself and sacrificing yourself. And the North Node in Aries is saying, hey, you are an individual. And to develop that strong sense of self, even though you've got the Sun in Aries. Yeah. And you've got so many other elements in Aries. However, with Chiron there, some insecurities, like, who am I really? And knowing what is it that you want that is not influenced by what other people want you to be.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Noa.
You're welcome.
Okay, Noa, thank you so much. That brings us to the end of your meeting. And
Awesome.
thank you also to the volunteers, Carly and Tori. Okay, thanks so much. We'll catch you next time, Noa.
Okay, thank you, Linda.
Thanks from all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to exit the screen, but it's taking its time. Here we go. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.